All right, truthy and falsy. Let's consider how non-Boolean data types like strings or numbers are evaluated when checked inside a condition. Sometimes you'll want to check if a variable exists, and you won't necessarily want it to equal a specific value. You'll only check to see if the variable has been assigned a value. Here's an example. Let my variable equal I exist. If my variable, which is equal to truthy, if it's truthy or if it's equal to true, console.log my variable, else console.log the variable does not exist. So the code block in the if statement will run because my variable has a truthy value. Even though the value of my variable is not explicitly the value true, when used in a Boolean or conditional context, it evaluates to true because it has been assigned a non-falsy value. So, which values are falsy or evaluate to false when checked as a condition? The list of falsy includes 0, empty strings like or that, single quotes or double quotes, null, which represents the when null, which represent when there is no value at all, undefined, which represents when a declared variable lacks a value, and nan, or not a number. Here's an example with numbers. Let number of apples equal 0. And if you guys recall, the single equal signs, because this does confuse a lot of the students out there. When we assign a variable with using a single equal signs, and then within the if statement we're using 3 equal signs. The reason we're using 3 equal signs is that is the actual equal operator. If you want to, that's the actual comparison operator. The difference here is this is the assignment operator, the single equal sign. So you're taking a number or you're taking a string and you're assigning it to a variable. All right, so there is a difference. You're storing it within the variable. All right, that's the difference. So I think for a lot of students in the beginning it will be a bit confusing, but over time, with much practice, you'll get used to that. All right, so it's pretty easy, but like for some people that aren't used to the maybe they're not used to this kind of work. Maybe they come from a very labor intensive background. Yeah, it could be hard because you're not used to this kind of work. So it takes time. It takes some time getting used to. So I encourage you not to give up. Just try and try again, and you'll get it right over time. I can assure you. I believe any person out there can do this kind of work. I believe anyone. You know, if you just put your heart into it, and yeah, you'll get it right, definitely. All right, I'm a bit off topic now, but let's move on. So if number of apples, which is truthy, console.log, let us eat apples, else console.log, which is false, no apples left, prints no apples left. So the condition evaluates to false because the value of the number of apples is 0. Since 0 is falsy value, the code block in the else statement will run. So change the value of the word count so that it is truthy. This value should still be a number. After you make this change and run your code, great, you've started your work. Should log to the console. Right, so it says change the value of word count so that it's truthy. This value should still be a number. So if word count is equal to true, console.log great, you're started. Else console.log better, get to work. All right, so if you recall, a positive number is obviously 1, 2, 3, 4, you name it. So I'm just going to set this equal to 1, and then I'm going to run it. As you can see, you've started the string. Great. You started your work. The string doesn't seem to be empty. Okay, so It stipulates that this value should still be a number, which is what I did. If you set it equal to an empty string, it's gonna negate to false. It's gonna equal false. All right, so it says it's right. Change the value of favorite phrase so that it's still a string but falsy. So favorite phrase, which is the second variable here within the code block, within the file, let's check. So that it's still a string but falsy. After you make this change, run your code. The string is definitely empty, right? It's already running. The string is definitely empty. Should belong to the console. That's why I was getting a bit confused. I'm like, whoa, where does this come from? Okay, so we have to assign it, change the value of favorite phrase. Okay, so basically what we're going to do here is simple. We'll just set it empty, equal to an empty string. And as you can see, an empty string is falsy. Moving on. Okay, truthy and falsy assignment. Truthy and falsy evaluations open a world of shorthand possibilities. Say you have a website and want to take a user's username to make a personalized greeting. Sometimes the user does not have an account. Making the username variable falsy, the code below checks if username is defined and assigns a default string if it is not. So let username equal to an empty string, which is falsy. Let default name, as you can see, there's nothing assigned to it, which is undefined. So if username is equal to true, which is truthy, default equal to username. So we took the username, which is true, and we reassigned it to the variable default name, which was undefined. Else default name equal stranger, the string stranger, console.log default name. Which prints stranger. If you combine your knowledge of logical operators, you can use a shorthand for the code above. In Boolean condition, JavaScript assigns the truthy value to a variable if you use the OR operator in your assignment. Let username equal empty string, let default name equal username or stranger, which is the better way of writing this code, a shorter version of writing this code. Console.log default name. Because the or statements check the left-hand condition first, the variable default name will be assigned the actual value of the username if it is truthy, and it will be assigned the value of stranger if username is falsy. The concept is also referred to as short-circuit evaluation. Let's use short-circuit evaluation to assign a value to writing utensil. Do not edit tool yet. We'll return to tool in the next step. Assign to writing utensil the value of tool, and if tool is falsy, assign a default value of pen. Okay, so it says here, assign to let writing utensil the value of tool, which is the variable, or if it's falsy, assign it the value of pen. As you can see, the pen is mightier than the sword. That's the output of the code. Okay, so notice that the text, the pen is mightier than the sword, locked to the console, which means the value of writing utensil is pen. What if we reassign the value of tool to marker? Let's see what happens to the value of writing utensil. So we take the tool variable, we're going to reassign it to marker. As you can see, the marker is mightier than the sword.